Hi there, I'm Cornelius Koopman and welcome to All About Property. Now, when it comes to property investment, it's very important to choose a strategy that is in line with your personal goals and your current circumstances. Now, in South Africa, there are about 15 different property investment strategies to choose from. Property investor and co-founder of Wealth Alliance, Cornelius Sylvia Milosevic, shared some of these strategies. Sylvia, welcome to All About Property.
Thank you, Cornelius. It's so great to be back.
Now we're talking about different property investment strategies.
Correct.
Is it important to decide on a strategy when you plan to invest in property?
The best way and the right way of investing in properties, the first thing you need to be asking yourself is, what is my strategy? What is it that I want from property? Property can offer you different things. So you need to identify from day one, what is it that I want? Do I want to invest in property for the sole purpose of getting a cash flow? Or am I interested to start investing in property because my strategies are one cash? So that means that you'll be looking at doing flips and getting a profit. So you need to identify from the beginning, what is it that you want from property and what is it that property can do for you.
Now, Sylvia, you've agreed to chat to us about 4 different property investment strategies.
Correct.
The first one being multi-let.
Yes.
Now, tell me, what is a multi-let property investment strategy?
Okay, in simple terms, I will define a multi-let as a type of an accommodation that will capacitate or accommodate multiple tenants. So instead of you having a house and renting out to one person or one family, you're now having one accommodation that's now catering accommodation to multiple tenants. So therefore, instead of getting one payment, you'll be getting multiple payments at the end of the month.
Sylvia, what is the type of area where a multi-let strategy would work, and who is the type of tenant that would move into these properties?
Some of the areas that work great for this strategy is student towns. So you want to buy a house, ideally, or an accommodation, ideally closer to universities.
Now, another property investment strategy that, according to you, works very well in South Africa is buying and selling distressed properties.
Correct.
Talk to us about that.
So a distressed property would be a property that would be in a bad condition, a property that perhaps the owners haven't maintained it. Some of the distressed properties that we find in the market are distressed properties that will be in older areas, your older suburbs, your older towns that have been around for the last 20, 30 years and more, whereby no maintenance has been undertaken. Okay. So this strategy would be ideal for property investors who say, you know what, Sylvia, from property, my strategy is I want to make money. I want profits. So if your strategy is simply to get cash in a form of profit, this strategy works great for that.
Now, the third strategy that you've identified is an installment sale.
Correct.
Talk to us about that.
So an installment sale is fantastic for property investors who are unable to acquire bonds through banks. So a lot of people will just give up, but there are options out there, and one of the options is what we call an installment sale. Okay. So the installment sale comes from a clause called the Alienation Land of Act, Section 68 of 1961. So where it helps property investors that you can literally move in and speak to the seller. If there's a property you've identified, you know your market, you have your strategy in place and you want to buy this property, you did the numbers and all feasibility studies and everything says right, move ahead. So all you need to do is that you can move in, you can get into an agreement with the seller.
So you don't get to take out a home loan?
You don't get to take a home loan.
Okay.
No, you can directly buy from the seller. And how we structure this deal with the sellers, that you would pay off the bond to the seller over a specified period of time. So typically you'll pay installments for up to 5 years. And to make sure that in that 5-year period of time, the full amount has to be settled. And once the full amount has been settled, then transfer will take place and therefore you'll be able to own the property.
But how would the property investor make money?
Number one is that when you're buying directly from the seller, especially when the seller is not registered with NCA, it's not a credit provider. So the seller won't be able to can charge an interest. So that means if this property is being sold for 1 million, you will be repaying 1 million over 5 years.
5 years.
Which means you save yourself from paying what we call an interest.
Okay.
But what makes it even more exciting is that once you've signed the proper agreement, obviously you'll need to utilize the right attorney. And once you've signed the right paperwork and also the seller has registered through deeds office that there's now an installment sale in process, this will stop the seller from selling to a third party. So now you know you're locked into this deal. So once you're locked into this deal, let's say 2-3 years down the line, you decide, okay, I want to sell this property. You can sell it. You can sell it on to another buyer. Okay. You just need to make sure that when you sell it on, you'll get substantial money to be able to offset your initial amount or account you've taken with the seller, and you might even be able to walk away with a profit.
Now, Sylvia, the last strategy that you've identified for us today is a back-to-back deal. What is that all about?
This is one of those strategies whereby you don't need to have a single cent of your money.
You don't need a single cent?
No, zero. This strategy is easier when you are buying property directly from the seller.
Okay.
And number 2, you need to make sure you are utilizing your own attorney. So we've agreed on R1 million. We sign an offer to purchase. So I sign an offer to purchase with the seller for R1 million.
Okay.
But I've done my research and I've done my evaluations, and I know that this property on the market, it will sell for 1.2 million.
So you're selling this property before it's even registered on your name?
Precisely.
Because you need to sell this property before it registers in your name?
Exactly. Now we're working against time. Then what we would do when we have a buyer is that I will sign a second offer to purchase with the buyer.
Okay, while I've still got the open offer to purchase with the seller, the original seller.
Correct.
Okay.
Once we've got 2 offer to purchases, I then would hand them over to my
attorney,
who will then go to work. And obviously alongside the bond attorneys who are representing the buyer, they'll settle all the clearances and get all paperwork ready. And then as soon as the transferring attorney lodges at the deeds office, the condition with this strategy is that there has to be 2 transfers taking place at the deeds office. So what you will tend to see at deeds office is that a transfer will be made from the seller's name into my name for a split second and over to the new buyer's name. So therefore there are 2 transfer fees that have been paid to SARS. So once the transfer has been made into the buyer's name, then the banks will then work to make sure they now transfer the title deed against the bank, and then the bank will then transfer the monies into my transferring attorney's account, the 1.2 mil. From the 1.2 mil, $1 million will be paid over to the seller. From the 200,000, so one of the things that we do, because we build relations with our services providers, we call them a mastermind team.
Okay.
So we have our attorneys on retainer. So I'll say, okay, as soon as the money hits your account, then you can deduct things like the transfer fees, the estate agent's fees, whatever, and then whatever's remaining is my profit.
Now, Sylvia, you also offer free events where people can come and have a look at what exactly property investment is all about before they fully commit. How can people find out about these events?
People can go on our website. Our website is thinkandgrowrich.co.za, thinkandgrowrich.co.za, 2 hours long events, and those events are really powerful because they will show you the power that lies in property investing.
Well, Sylvia, thank you very much. Lovely chatting to you.
Thank you so much, Cornelius. It's always a pleasure to have you here.